Welcome to Tint Wizdom number 159. This is kind of a bonus episode. We're doing it before 160. We always do 159 before 160, but what I mean is it'll be right after this one. So what we're going to do today, right now, is we're going to be joined by Carlos, the Texas Squeegee, and we are going to recap the Geoshield Flat Glass Summit that just took place last weekend in New Orleans. So this was put on by Geoshield. It wasn't Geoshield exclusive though. Any tinter could come, they could get a ticket. The tickets were free. And it was a flat glass summit. So it was a full day focused on flat glass. We had the pleasure of being able to speak. And basically, what we're going to do on this brief 30-minute Tint Wizdom 159 before number 160 is recap the experience. So without further ado, let me introduce and bring on Carlos, the Texas Squeegee. Now, last week, Patrick had an introduction, and it felt like we had to try to at least match the energy. So let me clear my throat, get a little water for this intro. I'm tempted to bring on the Squeegee and have him read his own intro, but that's probably not the best. Well, it might be the best idea. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tinters and tint enthusiasts around the world, introducing from the Lone Star State, he's the originator, the instigator, the undisputed master of ceremonies. He's not just setting the standards, he's smashing them. A visionary founder of Texas Tint Masters, Tintertainment, and Tinter Battles, he's revolutionized the industry with unrivaled passion and energy. Hold on to your seats, ladies and gentlemen, as I introduce the one, the only, Carlos, the Texas Squeegee.
And now, the moment Tint Wiz fans around the world have been waiting for. From the jam-packed virtual arenas of the Tint Wizdom talk show,
All right, sorry about that. We had to interrupt the intro. What I wanted to mention is what you saw there, and I can bring it up on screen. What you saw there with this face, that was the very first Carlos introduction onto Tint Wizdom. At this point, this was the very, very first introduction that I had ever seen him made with this high energy. I had no idea what I was getting into, and this is a face of shock and excitement as I was in a hotel room for the first one. So I just wanted to bring that up. You can see the date there. That's February 27, 2020. So that's about 2.5 years ago. Somehow 2.5 years has passed. Let's relive this introduction. I'll start it from the beginning. All right, here's the Texas Squeegee.
And now, the moment Tint Wiz fans around the world have been waiting for. From the jam-packed virtual arenas of the Tint Wizdom talk show, it's time!
The Texas Squeegee.
Yo, that was awesome. Man, like that was taking me back, like going back to the original and holy crap, that was, I guess, my first attempt at creating an announcer type voice. Looking back, I'm like, okay, a few tweaks, man, a few tweaks, but damn, it takes me back. I was just, how you were looking at that with a smile? I was looking at that whole you just put on with a smile the same way. I'm like, man.
I mean, the floors were white, your towel was white, the walls were white, everything was white. It hadn't it was just like, and then from there in 3.5 years, as Cash pointed out, not 2.5 years, I guess, I have to look back, 2020, math isn't right now, but it feels like just like yesterday. I can't believe how far from the beginning of that intro to the end of that, jam-packed Madison Square Garden, how far you came in just a short amount of time.
Man, that one threw me off a little bit. Threw me off a little bit when you dude, the way you were editing that, like how you blended both of them on the back with the audience, like it makes it look like that was like a legit thing. Damn, I was in Madison Square Garden and I must have not remembered it or something.
I just put them in order. So I just started with the first one, and then I put the middle clip and then the end clip, and I just played it. I mean, I didn't really do any editing, to be honest.
Yeah. I still remember that was at the time whenever I had done a marker and thing on them. Spent like a lot of time like doing all that shading and stuff. So again, the smart way would have been with, setting up a screen on the back or something, or just like a light. But anyways, well, it's good to be on the show. And I brought both of these squeegees here for a double whammy squeegee that. And I've got this one here. Geoshield, Geoshield dealer, Geoshield Flat Glass Summit Fusion gave me this one right here to try out. It's called the Flat Out, and we tried it out today. Actually, it works pretty good.
Very cool. So Geoshield Flat Glass Summit, you were the voice of it. You were, you were the host, put it that way, right? The voice of it. That's a fair term. The MC.
Yeah, for sure.
The Master of Ceremony.
Yeah, I guess the MC for sure. The industry MC, by the way, specialized specifically in this industry. I know what I'm talking about.
You do. And you brought the energy. It was definitely, like fun from beginning to end, as you always do, as we saw in some of those clips. So
yeah, well,
where would you like to start? Go ahead.
When you said like it was fun, I wanted to shout out Geoshield because they were so open and so honest throughout the whole process. First of all, they did a great job setting it up, and this is the first time setting up an event like this. And so they had obviously, like, they selected an area, New Orleans, which I felt like fit their vibe, which was very relaxed and kind of just like, it is what it is. Like, here it is. It's like they're not trying to pretend to be anybody that they're not. And I loved them for that. Because of that, doing the whole show, I felt like it put certain things at ease. And it was more about like everybody was there with a collective goal in mind, which the audience was there to obviously to learn. Speakers were there to deliver on that knowledge. And I felt like that happened. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. What do you think?
I think, like you said, like you got to feel who Geoshield is as a company by, I guess just the presence that they brought to the event, the relaxed, warm, like Louisiana vibe, I guess, is what it felt like. And it was my first time in New Orleans. You get to, feel the culture and feel the different flavor of the area. And as far as the event goes, they put it on in an absolute beautiful venue. It was beautiful venue, very modern, very like super nice. And like you said, they attracted a crowd that was there to learn, that was friendly. It was a lot of people's first times at events. And they delivered, I think, on bringing the knowledge. I know they did, and I'm excited to kind of go through the speakers. Go ahead.
That was one of the things that stood out because you and I have gone through a lot of these types of events, and we've obviously hosted some, and we've also been a part of many others. And I thought, like, at this point, this generally the people you run into are people that go to these kinds of things, but we came across a few that never go to these things, and this was their first time going out. And I was realizing like that there's a bigger world out there outside of just the window tinting groups on Facebook, that there are tinters that exist. There is a life outside of Facebook. But it was pretty cool to have seen some of those guys come in because a lot of them, they got to, we got to talk to one-on-one. So, I was glad. It's really good. One of the things that stood out to me, you beat me to New Orleans and you were at the Acme Oyster House that first evening, June the 2nd, which was a Friday. What was your first impression when you walked into the space, or have you ever been to downtown New Orleans before, or is this your first time?
I'd only passed through. I hadn't spent any time there, so I'd consider it my first time. And my impression of the venue was perfect because it was a very, very short walk from the hotel, just like a couple blocks. There was no, like, it was easy. You walk right in, you go upstairs. It was super, like, relaxed, friendly environment. There was an outdoor space and an indoor space. And it was like the perfect way to kind of, I guess, like, warm up for the next day and get to meet, kind of talk to everybody and meet some new people and so on. What about you?
The first time that, like, so we obviously drove in there. This area was pretty small. There were some alleyways that were really tight. And like, you know, there was like, you could tell there's a lot of history behind the town just by the way, you know, you look at the buildings and you look at the way they were structured. They're not modern buildings. So they have history, obviously. And then going to the Acme Oyster House, obviously I walked in and I was seeing a few people for the first time, including Matt Blackman, who was one of the characters that I've been wanting to meet for some time. So he was there. Very cool, very relaxed. Obviously, it's an oyster house, and this is like Creole food. So they had to have some of that stuff on there. Did you try any of the oysters?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
Oh, dude, like they were pretty good. They had some stuff. I'm not a big oyster guy. Chris Hardy was the one that introduced me to oysters, and they actually tasted pretty good. So then they had a different version of it. But like, you know, the first evening was pretty cool. People mingling with each other and, you know, being able to get to like just that first meet and greet. Like that's one of the things that I like that they did is that they had like, you know, there's going to be speakers presenting and there's going to be audience that were meeting for the first time. But the fact that they had almost like this hangout session right before, I felt like might have eased some of the nerves that speakers would have gone through had they gone in there for the first time, seeing these people for the first time, you know?
Sure. I can see that.
Yeah, so that one was pretty good. Obviously, that evening ended, and then the next day came around, and first thing in the morning, we had some speakers coming up there. So, what was your first impression walking into the space?
Space was beautiful, like, and I mean it because it was like well lit. It was modern. It was like it felt bright and clean and new and big. Not too big though, you know. It still felt intimate enough. For the size crowd that was there. I really liked it. I thought it was just like they picked a perfect space.
You know who like impressed me with something?
What's that? Who?
This guy, the tint attorney, Uncle Lou. Because you know when we do these types of things, we you know, like there's a production guy, there's a sound guy working the laptops, and you know, Chase, which is Lou, he was doing this backstage, and I was like, hey, way to go. Because it was like, man, this is my first time. I'm just winging it. I was like, I'll appreciate the honesty. Like he did. I think he did good.
They did a great job. Yeah, they definitely did a great job. And there was, I believe, one AV person there the whole time, but there was also hands on deck with Geoshield. And yeah.
And so, you know, like the first speaker begins with Burns Mulhern, and he was talking about film to glass. What types of films you can put on what type of glass and how to determine different types of glass. Oh, I thought you froze for a little bit.
No, it's you.
Dude. Huh?
You've been freezing up a little bit on my end, but it's all right.
What about?
No, you're good.
Is the sound freezing over now?
No, it's perfect. It's just your visuals slow down a little bit.
All right, good. Or at least you can't catch me. Yeah, you can't catch me blinking then. But like the film to glass, he had a ton of information about that. Like, oh my God, he put a lot of info out there. I felt like his talk was one of those where it's like you almost had to record it because it was worth several times listening over. There's no way he put out so much info. It's impossible to if you're a beginner, to try to retain everything he put out there. But you know what, he was putting out some very useful info, which are like your intro, like your basics, a lot of your basics to get into flat glass, which you have to understand film to glass charts. You can't walk a window blindly. It's super important to understand what you can put on there, what's compatible. And you know, like whenever I was getting into flat glass, I thought it was complicated because I saw these charts and all that, but you realize certain films that they're pretty much good for a lot of these things. You'll occasionally run into some that you got to be careful with, but I thought he did a great job. I was able to learn a few things that I didn't know about before. Like he was showing the lighter trick on the windows, right?
Yep, the reflection of the flame.
Yeah. Also the ice cube trick to determine the seal failure. Didn't know that.
Yep.
which we later found out that there's another way, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, I think what, the overall takeaway for me from Burns's presentation was that Burns has a lot of years of experience in flat glass, and he's a wealth of knowledge. So if you have questions, if you're a Geoshield dealer, maybe even if you're not, and you have questions, like, he's somebody you could tap into because he clearly has the information. He clearly knows what he's talking about. And it was nice that he, put on an event and to share it.
Yeah. So he had a lot of stuff. One thing I also learned, he started Geoshield in 2005, and we didn't get an exact number on the square footage of the shop, but they were somewhere between like 300, 400 square feet. So it's a pretty tiny room. And I think recently they had just built a facility maybe out somewhere, I think in like Nevada, right? Or something like, or in the West Coast.
Well, not built. but expanded to, but I don't think they built it, because like they had it open in less than 30 days, which is incredible. So
I meant they built their company to expand to Nevada or the West Coast.
Right. Yeah, they did, which is incredible. And so now they're shipping from 2 coasts, and Vegas is obviously a great place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Vegas is definitely a great place to be. Lots of opportunity there. But yeah, I mean, he did great. Had a few questions on the Q&As that he ended up helping people out with. And then, of course, the next speaker from that one is one of my, as I say it all the time, and I'll continue to say, one of my favorite individuals of the industry. And it is none other than the former Tinter Battles champion, the owner of East Coast Motorsports, speaking out of St. Mary's, Georgia. Flat glass specialist, specializing. I mean, he's a window tint specialist specializing in flat glass, bottom loading, reverse roll. I mean, everything, dude. I could read off a laundry list of accomplishments that could describe everything Chuck Cochran, but he had a very interactive presentation for the security films. And I was one of the people that was filming next to Matt. It's a little tricky because I was trying to focus on him because he was putting out such good info, but I was also trying to get content from it. Man, like, I noticed with him that people really captivated the people really well, because at the end there was a lot of people that had a lot of questions. Like I think he had a significant amount of questions at the end of his presentation. But he did a live demo of doing security, the Dow attachment system, just like a boss, just fast.
But look, I knew, obviously, like, he knows how to put down film. There's no question about his expertise. And he does a lot of security. And obviously he came out with the AccuGlaze kit, which is a toolkit to apply Dow. So he can apply Dow. But when you hear him speak, the depth of knowledge in the different framing systems and the different, like, how the beads need to be and so on, you truly understand, or you start to understand. You can't completely understand yet, but you start to understand how much experience there is, and it's not just a bead of Dow. There's more to it. And hearing his passion, and he said it I've heard it for a while, but hearing him expand on his passion for trying to buy some time in school so that lives can be saved. They're buying time, and by doing it the correct way, you're buying more time. And when it comes to lives, every second counts. And hearing him be able to speak on that, it's like, it needs to be like a PSA. It needs something like everybody needs to hear. And if you're getting into security film, or you're into security film, I couldn't feel strongly enough that you would get value out of additional training from Chuck Cochran.
I second that 1000%. When he started talking about hypotenuse on a bead, what the hell? He goes, there's a triangular shape to them. And I didn't know, man. Like, I really didn't. I've done, allegedly, I did it on my own door, but I've done the bead where I use a Tint Wiz tri-edge, the curvy part, to do my bead, and it's got that natural curve to it. So I didn't know. He's talking about hypotenuse and how strict government buildings are, and that they will come out and cut a slice to check your work. And if it's not up to spec, you're responsible for redoing it. If it's coming from someone like Chuck, you know, like if he's getting it down to that detail, you know, you're getting like really good information. And I think that's not, I know that's what makes Chuck the type of caliber that he really, really is, because it's down to the detail where he'll know. Another thing that I didn't know about security films was, well, prior to this, was that you remove the seals and then you beat it, you know, into the framing between the glass and the frame itself to have that extra reinforcement. And I didn't know that. But when he explained it, I'm like, it makes a lot of sense why you would want to do that, because otherwise you're beating over the seal. And that seal is going to prevent like the glass. It's, you know, it's just preventing like.
It's not attaching. It's attaching to the seal. The seal is meant to pull out. So it's going to help it pull out, if anything.
Yeah. When he said it the way, it made a whole lot of sense. And man, I could not have more respect for a human being and a professional of this industry. You know, he deserves every bit of good that he has coming to him. But like, yeah, even just watching him install, and I carry his techniques even to my install every single day, which is, I call it the classic Cochran technique. You know, you grab your squeegee, two-handed squeegee like that, boom, boom, boom. I saw him do it at the XPEL dealer conference in 2022, and I saw him doing it. I was like, I like that. Like, that seemed like a well-extracted window film, and sure enough, he ends up winning tinter battles. So,
right? No kidding.
Yeah. So he did a phenomenal job. He did a fantastic job. There is content coming out of it as well, too. But, you know, if he's one of those individuals, man, like that, one day we'll be sitting around in a campfire and be like, where were you when Chuck Cochran was in his prime? And I was like, I was there, kiddo. I was there. You know, but he's one of those people, like, if you have the opportunity to learn from him, he's a really rare individual. Like, you have to take advantage of the opportunity while he is still willing to teach, because people like him, man, they don't come that often. He's one of those truly, like, if there were like super athletes in the world of sports, Chuck Cochran, in my opinion, is that version for window tinting.
Yeah, he seems to have hyper focused on security film. I mean, you mentioned he won the automotive tinter battles, so it's not like he's not well rounded, but it seems like security has really drawn him into a hyper focus in a industry where there's, you know, a good amount of it happening, but I've never heard that sort of level of expertise.
Yeah, agreed. So he did a phenomenal job. What stood out to you about his talk?
I mean, we got to move it, right, because of the time. But but essentially, I mean, you know, really, it was the depth of knowledge. He didn't just go up there and quickly show how to do a bead, but a dowel. But he explained the, you know, like you mentioned, the hypotenuse and the different depths of the dowel. He demonstrated his tools. He explained the different, you know, framing and how to take out glass. And I mean, you know, some of the liabilities there that you may want to avoid, a bit of how to run the crew, start off taping. You get to eat your hamburger for lunch without dowel on your fingers. I mean, he took you through a lot of detail. And that's why in maybe 30 minutes of hearing him speak, it just, if you're going to put security film on windows in the future and do dowel, you should get some training from him. I just really think that there's no way somebody wouldn't come away either being faster, better, or both.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so he was great. And then up, you know, behind him was Adam Feldman with like sales techniques and things of that nature. He did a great job captivating the audience. Then we had lunch. I don't know if you had any of the lunch. I didn't have the food, unfortunately. I usually don't eat when I do these types of shows, but did you have an opinion on the food?
You know, I didn't get a chance either. To be honest, I didn't even get a chance to see it because I was trying to go over the AV to make sure everything was ready to go. And I don't typically eat as well like you. I think, like, in general, like when I'm working, it helps me stay focused. And what I mean is, if I need to be like alert, I feel like if I eat, it slows me down a little bit. You know, I think that's normal, but
for sure. And you know, following the Tinterlicious lunch, there was the Tinter Trivia God of Son, Billy Ayton, that went out there and made his debut as a speaker, which I never thought I was ever going to have the privilege of seeing. But Billy went up there, and I think he did good. I like that he prepared videos as part of his presentation. He went over seams, which is a topic he's very strongly about. And, you know, what was funny is, like, the night before, we were at this restaurant that had giant windows, and I'm like, oh, it's a perfect window for Billy Ayton right there. Like, let's do it. You know, I wonder where Billy would put the seam, and the butt seam, and all kinds of different seams. So, you know, it's obviously useful for big windows like that. But I thought he did good. He had a short one, short and sweet, to the point. And then following him was none other than Jordan and Nick with Fusion tools, which was nice to see. I never, you know, Fusion's been, you know, obviously we have a great relationship, but we've never were a part of these shows together. So I was glad to see, you know, Nick and Jordan coming out. And, you know, Jordan is one of those, not Jordan, Nick, one of those individuals, tons of knowledge, like a supercomputer in the brain, right? And all, you know, but he tends to be reserved. But if you ask him the right question, he's got a wealth of knowledge. I thought that their presentation was good, was great. It was really, really entertaining when they started talking about their famous tool that everybody knows them for, which was formerly called as the hand job.
So look, I remember, it's funny like hearing him say that, because I remember the WFCT, and I was walking by, and I'm walking down the aisle, and they're to my right, and you know, I was asked, would you like a hand job? And you know, I was like, yeah. And they were handing out the hand job tools, and it left an impression forever. I know that tool. There's no, and he said it was like one of their most successful marketing campaigns, and being able to hear it, and also hear during the presentation some of the thought process that goes behind the squeegees and why they are the way they are, and his thought process and how they develop them. It's when you get to be around the founder of something, I think it's a little, you get a little extra insight. So it's cool that they were there, and that it's great that they were there, and that you know,
something that stood out. Something that stands out to me about Fusion, and particularly about Nick, is that Nick still does window tinting to this day. As he's developing more tools, he's still doing it to the day. So this is the inventor, the creator, boots on the ground, literally going through the same things that his own people that he, you know, services or sells these tools to go through on a daily basis. And that it's refreshing to have someone like that be at the forefront of creating these types of tools, because coming from a real world understanding of what are the challenges and what some solutions may work. And, you know, you're not having to buy something where it's like guessing work, for example. You're getting it from a guy who understands this industry really well and is still doing it to this day. So I really liked him for that.
Yep.
I really liked him for that. So, yeah, that was Fusion. Following Fusion, of course, none other than the team of Tint Wiz, not Flat Glass Joe, owns Prime Window Films out in California. Cody Becker, the Wiz trainer, he is working with Delaware, Short Tint and more out in Delaware. They were both down here, obviously accompanying and equally presenting with yourself to the stage. I'm going to tell you something, though. You threw me off for a little bit, because the whole time you were there, you were looking like how you look right now. And then you had a hat backwards all of a sudden. And I was looking, they were like, I don't know, I didn't tell you, but there was for a moment, I was like 3 or 4 seconds, I was looking for where the hell is Eric? And as you got the snapback, I'm like, when the hell did
it was, I mean, it's a Film Pros Nation. You're going to go on stage and not wear the Film Pros Nation hat. I was with Louis taking pictures before, and yeah, I put the hat backwards only because like it's really comfortable that way. They're comfortable either way, but I really like them backwards. But
yeah.
What is the Office episode I'm thinking of? Something Mike, where he's like wearing it back. You know.
Oh, a Prince Mike.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a great I enjoyed the presentation. I really appreciate the opportunity and appreciate Cody and Joe coming out. It was Joe's first time present. I believe it was the premiere of Flat Glass Joe, and you know, I really appreciate him and Cody coming out. Amazing audience. Everybody there was just interested in learning. So you had like people that were captivated, I feel like, interested in listening, not just to my presentation, but to all of them. And then I was followed by none other than, do you have an intro for Matt Blackman?
Just what I did for him.
Let's hear it. But then we gotta bounce. I feel like it might be the end.
Well, I mean, I just read off a bunch of stuff like, ladies and gentlemen, introducing our next speaker, holding a professional record 193,000 subscribers on YouTube, 112,000 followers on TikTok. He is the founder of Window Tint Stuff. He is the founder of Glassade, the owner of 313tint.com, presenting out of Detroit, Michigan, Matt Blackman.
All right. So having Matt there, haven't seen him in so long, absolute treat being able to hear him speak. And what'd you think? First time meeting Matt in person?
I wish that we had set up a room to do a podcast in, because it was two creators in their own respect. But I have such a respect for Matt. He's been so consistent for so long. The guy is as real as they come. I mean, dude, if I was a supplier, trust me, I'd be banging this guy's door and like, yo, I need to bring you on full time. Like, how many check zeros do I got to write? But he, wealth of knowledge, is super creative. He's real. That's it. He's real. Like what you see on camera is who he is in real life, and he's just a genuine, normal guy who's just really good at what he does and really creative and how he presents things. And
I challenge you by the word normal, but because normal is not the word. It's exceptional. It's consistency and authenticity winning.
Yeah.
And hard work, and I'm sure a lot more, because nothing more than impressive. But I know what you're saying. He's somebody that feels like somebody you've known like forever.
Right.
Or like just like a friend. Like he's just a true, authentic person.
Yeah. And then he's just, man, I just had a lot of respect, and like it was a great conversation just having it with him and hearing how he creates and how he does things. And when you meet someone with that big of a following, you think, how far does it go? Do you have a production team? Do you have an editor? Do you have a writer? And it's like, no, his process, his structure is very, very simple. And for someone that has such a very simple like approach to things, he has gotten a ton of great results. So props to him. It was a pleasure meeting him, and I hope to see him, a lot more of him, on future events.
I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty. So
you have a show to go to, don't you?
A show. Wait a minute.
A show to go to?
Oh snap! Yeah. Oh, dude, sorry, I gotta go. I'll see you guys. Thank you for having me on Tint Wizdom. There's somebody that's coming on later on, but I gotta go show to make. Dude, I'll see you guys on.
All right, so that'll be the end of Tint Wizdom number 159, but we're going to be right back. You will have to click on a different video, and I'll be joined with Ricky Miller and Josh Miller of Green Valley Window Tinting. So let's get out of here and start Tint Wizdom number 160. See you all in just a moment.